With a piece in my hand and bloodshot eyes, I walked to the water for a last goodbye. He begged so much, it clouded my mind. One thing's clear, the man's gotta die. Might makes right, so he said.
What are we doing?
Tonight, we are going to start the process of the full skid setup from Kawasaki. That's going to go underneath the KRX. So here is the whole underneath skid setup. And then this is the, oh crap, it's falling out. This is the littlest piece dealing with the belly skid part.
This is part of the off-road package, rock slider, what do they call it?
Yeah.
Off-road protection package or something?
Protection package. And then my trusty Terex over here is holding a few other parts.
Guys, I hate to say it, but the Terex 800 has turned into a storage unit.
That's just because we got to break in the new one for a little bit, but I have some plans for some good rides still for the Terex.
He doesn't like it anymore.
Oh, whatever.
Honestly, I think he's going to sell it in the next week.
Not happening. Not yet.
No?
All right, so we got some rock sliders from Kawasaki as well.
Let's go up the both sides of the machine.
Yeah, both sides of the machine. We got those.
Pretty slick. These skid plates, is this that UMHW stuff? I'm sure I got it wrong, but it's the plastic stuff.
I've actually called it like a cutting board.
Yeah.
Give you an idea.
Just makes the machine slide right over the rocks instead of scraping over the rocks.
So from Kawasaki, we also have the KRX front A-arm protectors. So,
Garrett, you're gonna get a lot of hate because I've been reading on Facebook a lot about how nobody's getting their off-road protection packages sent to them. So I don't know how you got lucky to get yours so quick, but it happened, so I feel bad for you guys still waiting.
Sorry, bro.
Sorry, not sorry.
And we have the trailing arm protectors as well. So those are gonna have to go on in this video. So there you have it. So full skid setup. We're gonna get put on the KRX. Remember, check out our front windshield. We've talked about that before on our last KRX video.
Thing is dope.
And make sure you check out the rear windshield. We've already had a few sales on both, and it seems like they like them pretty well. So.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, the fit and finish of this it's outstanding. They do a really good job. We'll have some links on the website and in the description below.
Yep. Let's see. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And we plan on having a whole lot more content with the KRX. All right, well, I guess we'll get started.
What's step one? Where's the directions?
Step one, find the directions. I'm thinking that we're probably going to go with under skid plates first, and then we will get into all the rest of the stuff with the trailing arms, A-arms, and the side skirt stuff.
Cool.
So, all right. And it calls for us to start with the front skid and then work our way down. Dave's busy on the phone doing who knows what.
Parts manager.
I wish you could even do that right, bro.
That's it. We're done. You just leave it dragging like that.
Hey, that's what. So we're out at the dunes in one of those Mavericks, the new 4-seaters. That's what the skid plate looked like that they rented.
Just dangling like that.
Just freaking dangling, dude.
That's funny.
Freaking ridiculous is what it is. It's ridiculous what rental companies will rent.
Especially out at Sand Hollow.
Okay, we got the very, very front one going. And now it's time for the rear ones next, and then I guess the middle one's last. So we have to install some spacers real quick first, and then we got to put that up after we get the spacers. So I'll grab the spacers real quick. You can kind of show them what you're planning on doing.
I don't know what I'm doing. You watched the video.
We just got done watching YouTube, man.
Yeah, that's how we roll. We watch YouTube, other people do it first, and then we try it. We don't take credit for learning how to do things firsthand. But they got it pretty dialed in. Everything's pre-threaded already in the metal skid plate and in the tubing and all that. It's all threaded. And then there's holes and everything. Already ready. It's a pretty nice setup.
So we're gonna install these stiffeners. So this one with the notch will be right here by this hole. So we'll just install these.
That's just to provide for some clearance on a little bump out.
Yep.
On the skid plate.
They won't shoot me down, they say no to sleepless night.
All right, next we're gonna hammer these spacers in these 3 holes right here as well. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we pulled out these bolts on the skid plate.
Big washers.
And the big washers. And we're installing these
dills.
spacers.
Can you see that?
So these spacers right here go up in here.
Hope you find me.
So you can see it's pretty much even now with these. Get a little bit of room, so we'll get the skid plate on and we'll go from there. So we need to start in the back of the skid plate, mounting it first, and then work our way this way. Alright, so we're going to start with the rear. Calls for these ones right there, 2 of those in the back. So we'll start there, and then we will work our way up towards the middle after we get these 2 on. Okay, so here up next, after we got these 2 in the rear, we're going to go to where we installed those spacers and install these into it next. And they go right up into the frame here. So there's that one. And I'm not tightening everything down too much yet. I'm going to go through the whole skid plate once we get these main ones installed first. And then we'll go through this whole skid plate and kind of put them all down. Okay, on to the next.
All right, so what we found out, what Garrett mentioned before, was don't tighten all the screws down because we had to adjust this whole skid plate down because this top row of screws were not lining up right.
Yep. So I used a little mallet, rubber mallet, and I was able to hit it just to knock this down just enough to line these up better. So these little screws would go in to the spacers that we installed earlier. All right, so now we're putting in the self-tappers last. So on this rear skid plate, you're gonna have 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. The key is this impact gun to get it started, but then you want to just self-tighten them to make sure you don't strip them out, is the best way to go.
Jeez. Stop it.
All right.
That's terrible.
So what we noticed when we got ready to put in these last 2, there was no holes. So Dave looked at the top and it was just the plastic covering it. So I took a drill bit, drilled right up into it, and there is a hole there in the skid plate to be able to screw these in. So I'll do the first one here.
Yeah, you just need to use a little more muscle.
Get it up there a little bit higher.
Beauty.
That it?
That's the stuff.
All right, so that's the key on those two. You might need to get a little drill bit and drill the hole out because there was no hole there drilled. Okay, so one thing that they don't mention before you get this center skid plate up is to remove these 4 bolts first. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Those need to be removed because you're going to replace them with a spacer and another piece of metal that comes with the skid plate. Put those up. How's that sand tasting there, Dave?
Just like sand hollow.
So the instructions won't tell you to remove these, but you need to remove them first. We just learned the hard way, right?
Not very hard.
Not very hard, but
We didn't get very far.
we didn't get very far, luckily. All right, so we're putting in these outside screws. You're gonna go right in the center, right here. He's using these right there, and they go on the outside, the center and the front, and then the outside to there.
But they need to get
to
these in first.
here. All right, so we're also going to be putting in the spacers. So these 2 center ones actually get the bigger spacer, the bigger screw, and they go right here in the 2 centers. These 2 outside ones get the smaller spacer. Okay, so we just wrapped up the skid plate underneath. Dave, what do you think about the fitment on the skid plate underneath?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, a couple little things.
All the holes basically lined up really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little tiny issue with the very front one, but
Yeah, I think basically if you follow like what they said and start from one end and work your way,
yeah.
versus just putting bolts everywhere, you're probably going to find yourself in kind of a
I
mess.
mean, there's really no issue at all with the fitment.
No. So, as much as you guys can see, it runs all the way, run from the front all the way to the rear. So, looks good. All right, so next step will be the rock sliders. But tonight, because we work normal jobs during the day, we're calling it a night tonight. So, start on the rock sliders tomorrow. What's up, guys? I'm back. It's Saturday morning. Dave had to head home the other night. We called it a night after we got the skid plate underneath. We're all working all the time, and it's Christmas time, so been a little tough, but we're gonna get the side skirts on this protection package. We're gonna get the A-arm covers on, and we're gonna get the trailing arm covers on as well. So we'll just jump right back into it and show you guys how to put those on. All right, so what it calls from the instructions here, it's pretty simple. We're gonna go ahead and remove these 3 little bolts here first, and then we're gonna go ahead and put on that guy, and then we'll go ahead and remove these 3 and finish putting them on the skid plate on there, and we will be good. So as you can see, those protection rock sliders are on. And if we want to add the Nerf bars later, we can. But these are really, really simple to install. They literally take like 10 minutes or less each side. So not bad at all. So we'll move on to the trailing A-arms back here now. Okay, so now we're gonna get the trailing arms done. And these are pretty simple to do. So they're gonna mount with 2 mounting points right there and right there. I'm gonna go up underneath just like that. And then there's a couple little tricks to get these on, I've noticed, but where we're gonna start is the removal of these two bolts here, one here and one on this side. And then we'll get this mounted up next. And then we'll put these back on with the new hardware and then one other piece of hardware. So let's get started on that. Okay, and these are going to use the same exact bolts, but you're going to actually use the bigger washers for these two. So we'll get them put on real quick. And there you have it. That's, with using that jack there, it really helped get this hole up in line. Otherwise it sits down a little too low. It's hard to get in. So we'll get in the other side. And we'll crank them down. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna install these brackets now. They actually go underneath the brake line. So they'll go like that, turn them and slide them back. If this bolt doesn't go through there straight, then you'll need to jack this up a little bit as well in order for it to go through. But you're gonna use big long bolt, washer, you can use the spacer in between, and the nut on the other end and washer. All right guys, now it's time to install the A-arm guards. So we're gonna get these put on the bottom A-arm here. They don't look too hard, there's not too many bolts. That's all we're gonna be using. And then also these plastic pieces here. But we should be able to get those installed pretty dang easily. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. And then we'll be almost wrapped up the full protection setup for underneath the KRX. All right, so in order to get this installed, you're gonna use the one bolt like this. It's different than the rest. There's only two of them, washer, lock nut. And that's the first thing we're gonna put on this A-arm guard here to get it started. So all I'm gonna do is just get this barely on there, finger tight. And there you go, now it's set up. Okay, so now these are gonna go on the inside. So you have 4 of them. And there's 2 holes on each A-arm. One right there, one right there, one right here, and one right here up underneath. And these are just gonna sit like this. And you're gonna bolt them down. So go ahead and drop a nut in it. And then here's your bolt. So you'll stick this on. And then you'll bring this up through